Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine number 3, and this came out dated September 1988. This is a wraparound cover by John Romita Jr., inked by Bob Wiacek, and obviously on the front cover it features the main character, Wolverine there. He's in some distress. It's kind of an odd placement over the female character's face. It's revealed at the end of the previous installment that this is Jessan Hoan, a character introduced in Uncanny X-Men 229 by Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri. On the back cover here, we have the other features of the issue. So there's a chapter on Master of Kung Fu, Shang-Chi, The Thing, and also there you can see Man-Thing as well. So let's open this one up to the credits page, and you'll see here for Wolverine, the title of the story, the overarching title of the story presented in issues 1 to 10 of Marvel Comics Presents is Save the Tiger. And the creative team, writer Chris Claremont, penciler John Buscema, inker Klaus Janson, letterer Tom Orzechowski, and colorist Glynis Oliver. So the letterer and colorist coming over from Uncanny X-Men, and then the legendary John Buscema doing his version of Logan. So we have our splash page here. Really like this splash page, like everything about it. John Buscema's pencils, of course, dynamic. He's putting some action into this scene that's taking down a back alley. And also the inking by Klaus Janson, very organic. A lot of fun, I would say, he would have had inking over using a brush, it seems to me, John Buscema's pencils. And also the color palette of Glynis Oliver, the purples and the blues, the cool of the night, but in the sky we've got the yellow moon too. So the particular title of this chapter is The Gals, and the first person narration of Wolverine begins, Madripoor, Lowtown, never fails to amaze me, the people you run into in the unlikeliest of places when you least expect it. So he's been taken by surprise by coming across Jessan Hoan. The last time he saw her was in this Uncanny X-Men 229. We'll get to that in a moment. So let's turn the page, and we'll see here we're going to get a flashback. And in the classic device of Marvel Comics in the 70s and 80s, flashbacks are indicated by a curved border on the panels. So here we get Wolverine asking Jessan, what the devil are you doing here, girl, dressed like that? She's from Singapore. We're back into his first person narration. Her family runs one of the island's merchant banks, not the biggest or most powerful, but with a top-notch rep as an outfit that was going places. And Jessan, young as she was and a woman to boot, was one of its financial whiz kids. So we see her here in the red dress. Till the morning, the Reavers blasted out of their teleporter portal and blitzed the place. In less time than it takes to tell, that gang of cyborg freebooters, more machines than men, stripped the bank bare and slaughtered most of the people in it. Jessan they took with them. Seems they had all this loot, but no way to use it. They figured to make her do for them what she did for the bank. So back they went, the way they came, to this dump of a derelict town in the middle of the Australian outback. And that's where Wolverine with the X-Men is based currently, which is where the X-Men found in My Outfit, Mutants Like Me, Heroes 2, though we hardly ever get credit for it, because in this era they are an outlaw band. We took the Reavers down, hard and final, but, you know, that implies that they killed them. Some of them were killed perhaps, but most of them went through the Siege Perilous. Problem then was what to do with them. World thinks the X-Men are dead. That's since the events in Dallas, Texas, shown and told in Uncanny X-Men 227. We want to keep it that way, which means either killing our prisoners or making sure they couldn't ever talk. Roma, that's her here in the corner, some sort of celestial guardian, the lady who sicked us on the Reavers, came up with a solution. The legendary Siege Perilous, spelt wrong there. All who passed through, she said, were judged according to the good and ill they'd done. And now we're going to get a typical piece of Wolverine characterization in Claremont's pen, and apportioned a new life accordingly. This is the bit I'm talking about. too flaming metaphysical for my taste. I was just glad to be rid of the sludge. So I really like that, because Logan, for Claremont, is the natural man. He's a man who is totally attuned to the world via his senses and doesn't have any time for the supernatural or the metaphysical, as it's phrased there. But when it came Jessan's turn, look, see, she exclaims, "No, I can't, please. Don't make me. I won't go through that awful doorway. It isn't fair. I'm not one of them. Why must I be punished? Why can't you simply send me home?" Kid had a point, says Logan to himself. And even though it jeopardized our security, we backed her up. So Roma says, "The powers of space and time are mine to command, child. I can return you to the place and moment from which you were abducted, if such is your desire." So she says, "Yes, then it is done, but you may not thank me for it, because you've always got to watch out for bargains made with celestial beings in terms of whether they might come back and bite you on the posterior." And it seems something untoward happened with Jessan. That was a while ago. We got on with our new lives, assumed Jessan do the same, never figured we'd meet again. And sure, not like this. So she denies that she is the person he says she is. "You're mistaken. I've never seen you before. I'm not the person you say I am. Leave me alone. Let me go." "Not without answers," says Wolverine. So what happened to her when Roma sent her back to the point in time that she'd been abducted by the Reavers? How could she have ended up in Madripoor on the streets, dressed in that fashion, different from this? Well, before we move on with the story, what I want to do is take a look at some of the pages here that John Buscema is doing his versions of. So look at this. Wait until I get this set up in a fashion that we can look at. Whoops, set that up there. We can compare Buscema's interpretation. Oh, this is going to be difficult. I'll do it this way. Let's see, that's better. Okay. Just make sure that that is showing up well on camera there. Yes, so you can see, imagine this. This is what I find fascinating. So Mark Silvestri, one of his biggest influences is John Buscema. And, you know, following him on the Conan comics, which was really Silvestri's apprentice period at Marvel. And look at this. Now we have a kind of a turnaround where Buscema is looking at Mark Silvestri's pencils and doing his own version of what Silvestri drew. So this is fascinating. Buscema is actually looking at this page, and this is what he's doing. Really intriguing. You can see the Buscema influence here, and this is Buscema himself coming up with this panel. And here again, let's turn the page. Whoops, we have this great spread of the Reavers arriving through the portal. And again, you can see that Buscema was looking exactly at this panel here and doing his own version of it there. So he's not, obviously, he's not tracing what Silvestri did, but he's looking at it, doing his version. And you know what? It looks like he has some admiration for what Silvestri did, because he's not changing things. That's so intriguing to me. If he was looking at something that he considered inferior, maybe he would have changed up the positioning, the angles, and things like that, but he doesn't. So let's see here any more things that he is taking from Silvestri. I just want to turn the page here. Oh yes, another panel. So we see it here. Just make sure this is lined up nicely for the camera, where we've got Silvestri's panel here, and we have Buscema's version. So he's slightly tilted the angle. That's very interesting, because Silvestri's straight on, and Buscema, you know, the artist behind How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, tilts the angle for a little bit more dynamism. But really what he's doing there is he's combining this panel with this one. So actually he's taking that little Dutch angle from the bottom panel of Silvestri's. And then later in issue 229, we get, of course, the fight between the X-Men and the Reavers. Now, this is important in terms of where Jessan has ended up in Madripoor, that Pretty Boy got his hands on her. and he got his filaments into her brain and kind of changed her as a person. So that's something that the X-Men didn't deal with when Roma sent her back to Singapore. She'd already been changed by the encounter with Pretty Boy there, and we see it happening again. So it's interrupted by Longshot, but obviously some damage was wrought. So we see there the fight between the X-Men and the Reavers, and then, oh, that's a great page. And then we get to the business of sending them through the portal. So we have it here. Let me just line that up there, make sure everything is showing up on camera for you. Yeah, you can see Buscema again looking at this panel of Silvestri's doing his version of it. Look, see what he's done. We've got in Silvestri's panel, we've got Rogue with her hands on her hips and a reverse angle on her, and he substituted Logan, Wolverine, for Rogue in the panel, because of course Logan is our first person narrator for all of this. But it's intriguing. He's looking at what Silvestri did there, gets an idea for putting Wolverine into the same position. I like it. It's really good stuff. And obviously he's doing his version of Storm there as well, looking at how Silvestri has drawn her. That looks very similar there. And then we have the business with Jessan making the case to not go through the portal. And then Roma agreeing to it. I shall cast her home to the place and moment from which she was abducted. From her lips, your legend will begin to grow. And so she says nothing here. She gives no warning here about what could happen. So Claremont has kind of changed the dialogue there. He's retconning the scene in Uncanny X-Men 229. Intriguing stuff, making the comparison between 229 and this. But let's get back into Marvel Comics Presents and the story here. We'll turn the page. And now we get a street fight between Jessan. So that encounter with Pretty Boy did change her. At least that's my inference at this point of the developing Save the Tiger story. So she has no answers to give Logan. And Logan in his first person narration says, nice move, street fighting move. Not at all what you'd expect from a magna cum laude graduate of Harvard Business School. That's her mistake. But what's she grabbing there from her buckle? Relating to her as what I remember her being, the cultured, sophisticated lady banker, rather than the scrapper she's become. Cost me, powder, hits like mace. So that's to blind him. He's blind, coughing, choking. He says, nifty Aikido kick, sends my body spinning after it. So that's a really well done panel there by Buscema as she swings her foot around and knocks Logan into the path of an oncoming truck, which really hits him full on from behind. There's a heck of a mess, he declares in his first person narration. Luckily, my bones can't be broken and my mutant powers a healing factor that will take care of the cuts and bruises. A normal man would have been in pretty bad shape. Now, the thing about it is, and I was thinking about this in advance of making the video, you know, we get in pretty much every chapter of Save the Tiger, Logan in his first person narration telling us about his healing factor and his adamantium lace skeleton. And of course, that's for the sake of any new readers who this might be their first issue and they might know those things about Wolverine, Logan. But what I like is, on the one hand, it's very obvious that Logan wouldn't be constantly thinking to himself about his mutant healing power and his adamantium lace skeleton and so on and so forth. So it's unrealistic, the first person narration in that regard. So there is exposition in the first person narration for the sake of the reader. But what I like is the way that Claremont handles it, issue to issue. He always varies slightly the phrasing, or he'll include repeated phrases like I'm the best there is at what I do, and what I do isn't very nice. And the variation of phrasing and the repetition is so well handled by Claremont that I always enjoy reading it. I never feel pulled out of the story. My nose is never wrinkled by the exposition. He does it in such a subtle, sophisticated way. I enjoy it. And there are other writers who do it in such a ham-fisted way, it takes me out of the story and disturbs my immersion in what's going on. So speaking of which, back to the story, we've got Jessan there fleeing the truck crash. She goes around the corner, such a nice angle there by Buscema. He's such a master storyteller. Love the way that she's almost horizontal in the way that she's sprinting around the corner. We've got the motorbike there. She tosses the guy off it, jumps on herself, leaps on it. We've got the sound effect there by Tom Orzechowski as she motors away. But this is what's so interesting. You'd rather think that she should just escape from Logan, but no, she drives back. She drives the motorbike back just as he's picking himself up off the ground to knock him down, to run him over a second time and into the puddle. He splashes head first. I don't even hear her coming, he says. So that gives us a sense of her character, like a dynamic implication of her character. I come up fast, says Logan in his first person narration, but she's out of reach. No problem. I know her scent. I can follow her trail anywhere. But why bother? She nailed me good. Little slip of a girl. Been a fair piece since anybody's done that. I consider how I look. Me, Wolverine, the hotshot warrior, supposedly the deadliest critter on two legs. And I can't help but laugh. So he sat there in the wet and dirt of the road and he's laughing. He's having a big belly laugh. I like that. I like the way that Buscema has drawn that too. It looks so good. Really good stuff. Okay, the lady's changed. Everybody does. Some for the better, her evidently not, but that's her business. So he's not going to go after her. Now, meanwhile, this character that was established in the first issue, in the previous chapter, she made an offer to Wolverine to come back to her place, a romantic offer. Stranger, this doesn't seem to be your night, she says, but who can tell? Perhaps your look's about to change. Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead. Replies Logan, you know what they say about nothing ventured, nothing gained. You're a royal mess, my sweet. My place is close by if you'd like to tidy up and pause, relax, she says. So there's an implied romantic invitation there. Tempting offer, thinks Wolverine, but something about her scent bothers me. Can't say for sure. My senses haven't quite recovered, but best to play it wary. So he replies, appreciate the invite, but I'm committed elsewhere. But she holds him by the arm and says, lucky woman, whoever she is, Sapphire's stronger than she looks. And now she begins to turn in terms of her character. Look at the narrowed eyes. I can't break her grip. Such a pity Sapphire sticks. Doesn't take no for an answer as she kisses him forcefully. And then suddenly there's a shift. I'm drowning. My strength, my life suddenly overwhelmed, consumed by a sea of shadow. Last chance, desperate effort, everything I have, pathetically weak, does the trick, surprises us both. I'm free. So something was on her lipstick there that has drugged him. And I like the change of layouts here from Buscema, all vertical panels, really well done. And also the colors from Glynis Oliver, the switch to magenta to imply the befuddling of Logan's senses, really intelligently done. Last page now, every chapter is 8 pages of story and art. Need time for my healing factor to do its work. Stagger blindly, animal on the run, trying to put as much distance between me and that vampire as I can. But who is there hiding in a doorway in shadow? There's no escape for you tonight, my friend. It's Razor Fist. So the villain established as an agent of Roach in the previous chapter, and he knocks Wolverine out. Incredible, says Sapphire. He's still conscious, still fighting. Oh baby, she says, I've never tasted anybody like you. It's almost a shame to turn you over to Roach. I'd so love to keep you for myself, but a contract's a contract. Don't worry though, we'll wake you up in time to die. So she turns out to be a femme fatale, and even though Wolverine was wary of that, she's forced him to kiss her, and she's drugged him, and he's conked out. And I love the cutting in of white media there in the bottom 2 panels, the abstraction of her face as Wolverine goes unconscious. Really, really good stuff. Great action there as well. And something else to observe regarding the backgrounds in this chapter, starting with the splash page, I'll go back to the splash page, is that Buscema is eyeballing the perspective. So he's not using a straight edge or ruler, in my opinion. And what gives it away to me is, like, this is a splash page that would have a single vanishing point, except if you follow the lines down, they don't link up. So he's eyeballing the perspective, which gives us a sense of the higgledy-piggledy, ramshackle nature of the architecture and structures in Madripoor Lowtown, and also complements the dynamism of the art. Now, maybe, actually, as I say all that, I think he did use a straight edge for this particular panel, perhaps, but not this one, not establishing the outback town there. So I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine number 3. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments section, and in particular, your thoughts on Buscema's translation of Silvestri's art from Uncanny X-Men 229. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.